Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us. My name is Kristen Davis, and I am the founder and CEO of Career Discovery Network, formerly DEI Youth Network. And what Career Discovery Network is we are a youth workforce organization providing career training and different experiences for young people to prepare them for the workforce, and we're doing that through mentorship, employer mentorship. Today, we are having a career panel, and you are here for Media Minds, Careers in Broadcasting. And we have our 5 esteemed guests within the broadcast industry, combined of television and radio. And so before we get started, I just like to go down and ask everyone to introduce themselves. And when you do introduce yourself, I'm going to ask that you share with us your role in terms of, the organization that you work with, if you're freelancing, and what inspired you to get into the media industry. And I will just going to start straight. Yes, straight to you, Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Stewart. Excuse my voice, my allergies are insane. But I'm a producer at Channel 6. I just marked 25 years on Valentine's Day. That next path is on the horizon. I have an unusual start into the business. I'm originally from New Orleans, and I went to LSU, and then I graduated from a school, one of the satellite schools in New Orleans. My junior year in college, I didn't know what I was going to do for my internship. Had no idea. Fortunately, my mom knew the managing editor at WWL-TV in New Orleans. It's a CBS station. And if you know anything about the history of some of these stations in the country, WWL is just like PVI. They've been number one for 50 years and still going. Mm-hmm. So it was a great start, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do until I started working, and then I fell in love with news. And then I asked our managing editor afterwards, my internship was up. It was not a paid internship. I got 3 credit hours. But I saw the value of what I was doing. And I asked, because it was a spring semester, I said, okay, what happens? What happens now? Because no one's going to be here to do the work that I've been doing. And I offered myself up. I said, I know I won't get credit, and I know it's not paid, but I'd like to continue the internship. They allowed me to do that, and 3 weeks later, they hired me.
Awesome.
Yeah, as a desk assistant, making $5 an hour, 20 hours a week. But I was still in college, it was fine. But then that ended up, I got promoted from there. At the time, my title was associate producer. And the title is not what normally comes with that title, because I had to do on-air cut-ins. Every hour on the hour, you saw somebody sit down in the newsroom and give you the latest news in 30 seconds. Actually, a little bit less, because you had a open and a close on it. And that's how I got started. And I had to work the assignment desk, which meant I listened to scanners. I listened to and back then, I know I look younger than I really am, but back then New Orleans was the murder capital of the country. So there was a shooting every single night. And just like now, unless there's something extraordinary, a shooting doesn't necessarily make news until it's, a murder or extenuating circumstances. And that's how I cut my teeth. And then producer opening at WDSU in New Orleans, and I decided to apply for it, and I went for it. And I've been producing ever since. But yeah, I stumbled my way in. Sometimes you just don't know. I started as a marketing major at LSU until I hit my first accounting class, and I said, no, I can't do this. And that's when I went searching, and I switched to communications. And the rest is history.
All right. hello, everybody. My name is Renee Washington. I'm a sports anchor, an analyst, and reporter. I work with various networks. So I currently cover college sports with ESPN. I work with NBC Sports doing college, as well as actually I just came back from covering the Winter Olympic trials for curling out in Denver, Colorado with NBC Sports on Peacock. I work with MSG Networks up in New York, and I work with the NWSL covering their games as an analyst. So if you heard, that's more than one network that I'm currently working with. So truly a freelancer grinding. And for myself, actually, I played college soccer at LaSalle University right here in Philly and was a 3-time All-American, a Hall of Famer. And as I was transitioning into playing professional soccer, recognized that there was a gap. That was 10 years ago. Not much, I mean, a lot has changed, I should say, but not much time has passed. And there has been significant work done, and I wanted to be a part of that. So for me, it was really important as someone that had a communications background. I studied public relations as my major. My double minor was in Spanish and psychology. My master's, as I was able to get that out of Lehigh University while coaching, is in educational leadership. None of those things are in sports reporting or journalism specifically, but I made the leap of faith into what I was passionate about, which is having a chance to talk to people just like this, talking about sports, covering every sport, basketball, soccer, football, as I mentioned, curling, lacrosse, you name it, I've covered it, and I just like to be a part of helping that next generation, that viewer, whatever it may be, connect with a sport in a positive way. I think there's so many positives that come from sports. It's such a, it's not news. It's exciting. It could be upsetting. It could be thrilling, like we just look at the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. There's so many major moments and lessons that come through sports, and I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that voice, and helping others to know that you also can work in the industry as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. I feel like I'm a combination of both of you. I definitely started out in college at Westchester University as a marketing major. And then I had an accounting class and a bio class, and I was like, okay, let's ease our way into like communications and mass media and broadcast. From there, I ended up, didn't like being a broke college student, so I ended up getting a job at Applebee's. Really didn't like commuting back and forth from Westchester to Applebee's. So then I went to community college. People said a lot of great things about the media and multimedia program here at CCP. So from there, I was like, okay, I could really do a lot. Philadelphia is like a melting pot of opportunities, so I got creative. I started and used this iPhone thing, and I started a television show. I wanted to call it a television show, and I actually had a membership here at PhillyCAM and started a music talk show on my phone. And from there, it was history. I had encouraged rappers to rap positive on my platform. From there, I started hosting events, and it was just beautiful. So I really also stumbled my way into the industry because I'm 4 credits away from a degree, but because I was making so much money, and I ended up getting my dream job, which was working in radio. I work at 100.3 WRNB, and it was strictly off of my talent and my grind and my hustle here in Philadelphia. And yes, that's how I stumbled my way into radio, just making sure I believed in myself. I wanted the music industry to be more positive, so pushing artists to be positive, putting out positive media, and just being my authentic self on any platform and giving my best anytime I'm in front of a camera or a microphone allowed me to get my job in radio. So that's what inspired me and got me here.
Somebody continue the trend.
Right, the trend.
My name's Carol MacKenzie. I work for KYW News Radio. I anchor Morning Drive News. I didn't know what I wanted to do coming out of high school, no idea. I went to University of Delaware, I went in undeclared, and I was talking with my dad, who was a guidance counselor, and he knew my personality well, and so he was just running down things that I could do that he thought would fit me. And he said, communications, and I said, stop, what is that? And he said, well, you could do this, you could do, you could do public relations, you could do this, you could that, you could be a reporter, and I said, that's what I want to be. It was very strange. As soon as he said it, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I got a degree in communications, minor in music, internship at a really, really tiny TV station in Delaware, graduated, and of course, couldn't find a job because it's really hard to break in. And so there was WLAN radio in Lancaster, downtown Lancaster, and I just started calling people, and I started calling the news director there, and she was impressed that I kind of kept calling, and so she created an internship, which meant I worked and didn't get paid. Luckily, my parents lived there, so I could live at home. But that's how I got into the business. So I started working for free, and then she was just a really good egg. As soon as she could pay me, I didn't work for free for long. She did find a way to create a job for me when she saw, I was interested, I was really dedicated to the job. Started getting paid, went and worked at a really tiny television station where I did everything, camera work, editing, producing, anchoring, reporting, which was actually a really great way to start the business because you learn how everything works together. When you understand what the different positions can do, I think it makes you better at whatever job you're doing. Left, I went to grad school, and then went back into TV, and then eventually I ended up here at KYW News Radio. I'm from Lancaster, so I consider Philly my home. Always wanted to come back here. So I've been at KYW for going on 22 years now. So many paths, many ways to get into this business, and a lot of them are really pretty unconventional.
First of all, I'm honored to be here, so good afternoon. I'm coming up on 33 years in July, and the more that I sat here and started thinking about my career, is making me laugh, get kind of emotional, because some people, unfortunately, are no longer living. But when I was going into my senior year of high school at Overbrook, the greatest school in Philly, I actually wanted to be a marine biologist. And you're like, what is that? And I'd studying marine life and oceans and lakes and creeks. And I was at an event, and my aunt said to my mom, what would she do when I leave to go to Florida? I had a scholarship. And I was like, well, she has sisters and brothers, nieces and nephews. I'm going to Florida by myself. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Watched a little TV, a little ESPN, and I said I want to get into broadcasting. Definitely wanted to get into sports. And so this is where if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, it's going to help you. So my mother knew Congressman Bill Gray and called him. He had somebody in his office call somebody. Ended up at WHAT Radio. And the first day there, I walk in the studio, and I'm working with a civil rights icon, Georgie Woods. And so that was July of '92. And I started working with more legends and more legends and more legends, and just steady grinding and enjoying what I do and always being dependable.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And what I really appreciate about this panel is just the diversity, and that's something I feel that our young people that you'll be inspired from and be able to see just in terms of for the different generations. We have, X generation, myself included, but X generation, we have, the millennial culture, on here, on this panel. Music, hip hop, sports, representing women in sports. Women are still looking to find their place in sports. So you see a lot more women still looking to really find their place and receive that respect. And so this is just awesome. So I thank you all. Right? And so let's get into it. How do you think social media, also artificial intelligence, has shaped broadcasting? How do you think it has shaped it in our present, and how it will continue in terms of the future?
You first?
I'm looking at you, Susan.
I know. Pressure. Well, I think we still will see what AI will do for our industry and for society as a whole. It's somewhat scary. It's somewhat intriguing. But social media has 100% changed. I started before there was Facebook. There was no Instagram. There were cell phones, but they were very large. Very large. Yes, they were. They were bricks. You could actually hurt somebody with them. There's a little-known company known Nokia. Remember that? Anyway, but all you could do is make a phone call on them. You couldn't send a text message. It has definitely changed the way we do things and the way we collect news, Because you will sometimes see, if you're watching, like tonight, watch, you'll see, and it's in white, so it's very hard to see, but at the very top left-hand corner, you'll see courtesy. And that's usually somebody has shared their video and given us permission to use it. Because people are our eyes and ears out there when something happens, like when that plane crashed in Northeast Philadelphia. So much of that video was from people's Ring cameras, from their cell phones, you know, and you're right there, and that makes you the person on the ground, makes us second on the ground, where it used to not be that way, you know, and I think it will continue to evolve, and it helps people start their careers, you know, talking about, I've had to learn how to shoot and edit and things like that on an iPhone, but I didn't learn it in college. It's only been in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I will add to that, because I remember as I was transitioning into reporting, I had a mentor that told me, you know, it's good to have career goals, but keep in mind that the job you want to have today is going to look different 5 years from now. So I graduated 10 years ago, and at that time it was more Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. TikTok did not exist. Reels on Instagram, shorts on YouTube, they did not exist. And so there are so many aspects of the industry that have evolved that technology has provided. Even when I was just doing the NBC Sports broadcast, we had a camera crew of 3 different men that were controlling about 6 or 7 cameras. And just like right now you see people manually moving the cameras, they were sitting in a room somewhere with a remote control, moving the cameras from a whole different space in the facility. So technology, beyond even just social media and AI, is providing a whole new landscape for the industry. And I also, much like you, started out as I was transitioning, and I had all these internships in public relations, marketing, social media management. So I had to figure out, how do I take that and use that to help show I can work in reporting? What did I do? I created a YouTube channel. I created a website. I started making my own videos and my own content. I started building my own brand and changing my entire social media page and my platform on social media to reflect a sports reporter. I started actively tweeting and posting and sharing about sports updates. I literally got into this industry because of social media, because it helped me open doors, because it helped me network with people and reach out to people and professionally slide into some DMs and interact with people. It allowed me to branch out, and it allowed me to also find my own voice and my own lane. And then even through that still, I mean, I'm posting as I'm walking in here. You're always using social media to promote what you're doing, to elevate what you're doing, to show people, to advocate and advertise for yourself, because in this world, what's the first thing you guys do? If I give you my name, the first thing you're gonna do is look up my social media. You're not going to my website, you're not asking for my resume even. You're asking, what's your Instagram? What's your handle? And now you're basing my entire being and character off of how many followers do I have? How many likes do I have? How recently have I posted? What am I posting? Social media has become our way to get our foot in the door, our way to check credibility. It's a good thing and it could be a bad thing, but it also is providing whole new jobs. My MMJ job when I first started, I was going out with a camera, I was recording, I was editing, I was shooting. You now do that on a cell phone. You don't even need a camera. We all know you can have the little mics, you can have any setup you want, you can have your lights, everything, all from your phone. So it is quite literally opening doors, and I'm so appreciative of being able to share with you guys. Take advantage of that. I wish social media was bigger even when I was transitioning, because there are so many young professionals that are trailblazing strictly because of their presence on social media. You don't need the job to start doing the work. You can start doing the work now before you even have the job. And that's because of social media.
Before, and I'm sorry, Yaszmin, before we move to you, there's something that you hit on, Renee, in terms of for social media. You talk about credibility. Very important, because we see a lot of posting, just like what you guys have shared, and just like what you shared, Susan, in terms of saying courtesy of or in different sites, but how credible. And so when we talk about for social media, some of these platforms and people are reporting in terms of how credible, in terms of how accurate the information is that's being reported. And so I guess share with us, all of you, if you can, for just that dark side a bit of social media. Anyone right now, if they wanted to, could say something crazy about this event and post it, and people would believe it. you know, and so that's the dark side of social media. Our current leader, when he talks about fake news, but there is a lot of fake news, and so if any of you, please, you know, could share just a little bit that dark side of social media in terms of how it has affected the media on the negative.
Oh, it is 100%. I get it all the time.
It's a daily battle.
Yeah, it is. Fake news. People will say that when they meet you. I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't know me and what I do.
Right.
You know, and let me give you a little bit of a background of what I do and how we take great pains. Like when you get this video, you know, and you say, oh, I have a video of so-and-so shot so-and-so here. Well, we're not just going to take you at face value and run with it. We're calling. We're making phone calls. And if police I can't tell you how many times we've had video just sit there, we archive it in case it comes up, but if we can't confirm it, we're not going on the air with it.
I think when I first started as a reporter, if I had a tip on a story, I had to confirm it with 2 other people, and it depended who gave me the tip. So I needed to go to my boss and say, okay, like the assistant DA gave me this tip, you know, like not for publication to say they did, right? It was on background. And I would have to say, and then I would get questioned, well, who confirmed it? Who did you call? And that takes time. And now, like social media has completely changed the landscape. And all of this information is immediate, but the problem is you don't know what you're seeing.
And it's hard for us when we're in news because we're held to a different standard than if you watch like Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity. They can give their opinion. That's a whole, but we all fall underneath the media umbrella. And that's what people have a hard time making the differentiation. And then we get stuck with, you're the fake news. You have your opinion. And it's like, well, no, the FCC would come after me if I put in my newscast my opinion.
Right.
You know, we would, but we have checks and balances. We have executive producers. You know, I work tonight. She will read over every single thing that I write to make sure that it is balanced. I can't say, you know, oh, I really like Yaszmin's story, but Carol, no, I can't say that. My job as a producer is to give you the information, you take it, you decide from there. And that's been vetted, it's been, you know, run through the mill. And, you know, that's where a lot of, I think a lot of the fake news comes from, because you see the opinion over here, then you just assume, oh, Action News and KYW News Radio, they're making that up.
Like we are in a bad place right now, and you try to be responsible. We have to be responsible.
Yeah.
You know, we put something out on the air that we know is false, we get sued. You
And
know,
we
like,
lose.
and we get fired. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do that. And opinion is different, but I do think, unfortunately, we're not being educated, and the public isn't really being educated. It doesn't understand the role the media plays, the role the press plays, and the standards that we are held to. And that lack of understanding, that lack of civics education is a big part of the problem.
Yeah.
I agree.
I wanted to just add, because I think a big factor of social media, in addition to all the discussion on fake news, this could be like hours in itself of a discussion, is the impact that it even has on like everybody in this room, you guys included, because of the other side. You talk about the downside. The first thing I also thought of was trolls, and the fact that people all feel like they have a voice, a platform, because they can sit behind a screen and share whatever they want to share about whatever topic and say ridiculous things. And so I think one of the hardest parts that I know I've seen and dealt with, and many others can agree with, is the fact that social media does also come with the downside. You are putting yourself out there. With every post, with every video, with everything that you share, there aren't going to be people that are always rooting for you. There aren't going to be people that are happy to see you doing well, unfortunately. And that's really difficult to handle because it is in your face. Pre-social media, you didn't know that. You know, somebody, you might catch them giving you a look in the hallway or at the job or whatever, but you didn't have it as in your face. And I think the other downside that social media has made us think is we have to live our lives a certain way. Oh, if I don't have thousands of followers, I'm not as important. If I don't have X amount of people liking my post, I'm not as important. Or if I have people commenting negativity. And I think that's something that especially for you guys and even for the younger generation, it's understanding social media is not who you are. It's a tool. You use it to help grow your brand, your audience, I connect with family on Facebook. I connect with friends on Instagram. You use it to connect, to network, to build relationships. But it is define your identity and who you are and your value as a person. And if I can speak for myself, the amount of things that I have heard and seen, and I'm like, this is some random person with 0 posts, no picture, live in the middle of nowhere that's saying stuff about me. They don't even know who I am.
Yep.
So you have to be able to also differentiate that in addition to battling people that don't really understand our roles as media. Like I always say as a sports reporter, I'm not here to dig up dirt on you. If I'm interviewing a player, if I'm going to a Sixers or whatever team I'm talking to, I'm not here to make you look bad. I'm here to amplify and highlight you. But then on top of that, you also have the other side of social media in general of just people that really don't want to see you do well.
No.
And so you have to be comfortable in your own skin in media because it's a really cutthroat, difficult, challenging industry. Very rewarding, very fun at times, don't get me wrong. But there are going to be times that have you question yourself like, wait a minute, huh?
Make the right decision.
So you do have to have that balance in everything you're doing, and that's in life in general, that as you walk, you got to walk with that confidence that nobody's going to be able to knock you off the path that's for you. And social media is a downside and dark side of, unfortunately, sometimes having you even in your own head, doubting yourself, questioning yourself, all because of one Joe Schmo out in the middle of nowhere because they said something ridiculous.
We see it all the time. When we get phone calls, you see it on social media. People feel that they are okay with putting someone down who they don't know. First of all, we're all human. And that's what people need to remember. But I mean, and I'll use Renee as an example just because I want to call it the person I received the information about. And it didn't go anywhere. But, oh, she needs to cut her hair. It's too long. Oh, you know what? She'd be prettier with a different color sweater.
Women get the, yeah.
Women especially.
Women especially. And I used to say,
yeah.
would you like me to come to your workplace and
Yeah.
start like criticizing you, particularly for your appearance?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, but you're right, like it's even worse. That's always been there, but people, that anonymity, that being able to attack somebody with a protection, that's cowardly. But people, like, there are trolls, there are nasty, you have to have a thick skin. Like, whatever
You
you do
do.
in this business, you need to have a thick skin.
Whether you're on camera,
Yeah.
behind the camera. Because believe it or not, my name shows up in credits. I get phone calls, I get emails, and they're not always nice, and they think I control what, Rick Williams or Adam Joseph is saying. I'm like, no, I have minimal control when I go on the air, what comes out of their mouth.
Yeah.
When they make a joke, it's like, that's their joke, not mine. I'm not sitting there making up jokes for them to say, but why anybody, and that's like you said, the dark side of social media. People feel empowered to be negative and put other people down.
Yeah.
I think it's just important to have, it's our job to just report things and state the facts, and just nothing but the facts. And it's our job, the receivers of media, just to have discernment. I recall there was a woman in Pakistan, right, and she was going viral on the internet asking for money, but the facts were that she was, there to marry someone who was much younger than her, et cetera, et cetera. But it's important for us to do the research in any industry that you're in. Do the research. Make sure it's credible resources. Yes, as a receiver of media, if you see something, I wouldn't take it for face value. Even before I was in media, I would see things and be like, this is kind of peculiar. Let me do some research. And for me personally, the dark side of social media is that also negativity is so tasty. So when you're positive on social media, be that and do that unapologetically, because the things that are healthy and good for your mind and your mental, sometimes you may not get the followers or the people, at first liking your thing, so don't stop that thing as well, because I went onto social media pushing rappers to be positive. That was not popular, you know? So do that, push positivity, have discernment in social media, and if you're watching the news, you know, the news reporter, their jobs, our jobs are to make sure that the facts are there, and have discernment anytime you're on social media.
And so you all touched on some really good facts, because our young people here, they're interested in being in the media, broadcast media. Some of them here may just be curious. But you touched on, a lot of good points in terms of having a thick skin. And so, we also have educators. We have 2 schools out here, Building 21 and Belmont Charter. And as we're working to prepare them, to be successful and build that career path, what is some of the advice that you would give them, especially for that, having a tough skin, for social media? But what are, some of the other, tips that you would give, our young people here? And also, guys, too, if you have any questions, please feel free. You can certainly, this is a nice intimate space, so feel free to, raise your hand and, ask a question to our panelists. Remember, they're here for you today. They aren't here for me. They are, they're here, they're here for you. So feel free to ask any questions.
There's a mic if you need it, if you want to start asking questions.
One of the things I would say is stay committed. When I first started out as an intern, I was doing just about anything, going to get coffee. I actually took the host card because he wrote a book, and I was going to pick up the books from somebody's house, even though I was supposed to be answering the phones, because I was in talk radio, still in talk radio now. So it was real different when I first started. But as I, kept the journey going, I realized that I really enjoy what I do. We serve the community, so when we have events and 300, 400, 500 people show up, and they ask about me and how you been, and I remember when you first started. It's fun to hear those stories, and then it makes me realize how old I am. But definitely stay committed. Be on time, and just the only way you're gonna get the nail on the board is you keep hammering. That's the only way.
And don't look down on an internship, even if you don't get paid. A lot of them these days do pay. Yeah. Which I was born in the wrong era, but
I know, 2 of us.
but
3 of us.
take that opportunity and, like they said, do everything. Get the coffee, pick up the newspaper. Well, now I'm showing my age.
Yeah.
Back in my day, you'd pick up the newspaper. But I remember in my internship, they gave me the keys to one of the station cars, and I just drove a reporter to her assignment and then went back. It's like, oh, big whoop. But I learned how to edit. I learned, how to run a teleprompter. I sat down with one of the producers and I learned how to put a show together. I went out with, his name's Bill Elder, God rest his soul. He was the Jim Gardner of New Orleans. And he took me with him when our former governor was under investigation. We went to Baton Rouge for the day and looked boring, I can tell you, looking at finances in the state capitol. But I also learned a very valuable lesson on how you look into things before you ever go to air with a story on something like that. And by the time I left, get behind the camera. Nowadays it's out in the field in the camera because, like Renee said, there are no cameramen in the studio anymore.
Yeah.
It's all computerized. Everything has a code. And something wasn't coded right if you see something go wrong, like a camera move the wrong way. But learn how to do it from that side and this side, because even if you're on that side, you know what the person on this side is going through.
That's crucial.
It is.
Yeah, that's really important. And then I'd say, if you listen to everybody's stories here, everybody did what they had to do, to get in. And I worked in this business long enough and worked at several stations, and I've seen interns come and go. And I can tell you right away, I can pick out the ones who are going to do well and the ones who are not going to survive. Because the ones who don't survive come in, particularly if you're in a big market. I worked in Boston for a little bit. Interns come in and be like, oh no, I'm from here. I'm just going to get a job as an anchor in Boston. I'm like, good luck with that. And they don't seem like they care. They're not doing anything. And you think no, they're not going to survive. But the kids who come in and are eager and willing and talk and watch and learn, that is really, really important for your own development, but also like people see that. People notice that. And even if you don't get a job, let's say you come to KYW and you don't get a job there, if I see you and I know that you have that dedication, you have that drive, you have that great work ethic, like I'm gonna say, you know what, like I'll use me as your
Reference.
your reference. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to somebody for you. And those connections are really important. I've gotten almost every job by honestly calling, cold calling, bugging people, and bugging people, calling connections of connections of connections.
Yep.
It really does matter, and it will be noticed.
You know,
Last
that
Question back here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Keziah. My question's for Yaszmin Belton. As a radio producer, how do you find balance between giving something that's informative as well as entertaining?
Oh, well, thank you, Keziah. You're so beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So informative yet entertaining. I would first, like we said before, we need all the facts, and we need them from credible resources. And then the entertaining part is just your personality. Add your own flair, know your brand identity, and have the certain language that you like to, flower your scripts with and make it fun. Me personally, I take voice and articulation classes, so I also like to make sure I emphasize certain words and make the storytelling as fun and vocally, sonically appealing as possible, while delivering the facts and being informative, But thank you so much. Yeah, so have the facts and then add your flair onto it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add also, because I think that's a great question that also kind of ties into what we're talking about here. Something I always try to tell people is, first of all, your why as to what gets you started is very important. If you're getting into this industry for the money, the fame, being around celebrities, being around, these exciting events, it's not going to work out for you, because it is a very challenging industry and it's going to test you. And it's kind of like if you try to join the varsity basketball team just because it's exciting, but you really can't play basketball. Are you really going to make it? No, you have to put the work in. And so you have to focus on what you can control. You can't control what people think about you. You can't control, everything, but you can focus on, am I showing up on time? Am I showing up with the right approach and attitude where I'm willing to try different things and help out wherever needed? Am I someone they can count on that's going to be dependable to do my tasks every day? And they don't have to be looking over my shoulder, making sure that I'm getting things done. Also, knowing that you always have options. You can shadow, much like you were just sharing, Carol. I also got ahead in this industry through networking, shadowing, asking questions. Hey, can I just watch how you guys do this show? My first show that I was hosting in sports came from, I was a news MMJ, and I asked the sports team, can I just shadow and watch and come along? Then it led to me helping to set up lights. Then it led to when somebody was out, I was the one that was the fill-in. I was like, I've been here. I can do this. I've been watching. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. And the next thing I know, I was hosting the show. So you have to be focused on, what can I do to help continue to grow my career? You can control networking, you can control your attitude, how you're dressing, how you're showing up, your timeliness, and making sure you're a sponge to just learn every aspect of this industry. I can't speak for everybody, I just met you, but it sounds like, much like myself, we've all done everything. I've been in radio, news, TV, sports, podcasting, shooting and editing, behind the scenes. I can tell you about Final Cut and Premiere. I can use CapCut. Learn every aspect of this industry, because you don't know, your interests might change, and you might get to a point where you realize, this is not really for me anymore. Maybe I want to be a producer. Maybe I want to be on air. Maybe I want to write. But then also it just gives you the perspective and knowledge that you've put the work in, and you have that foundation that you can trust everything you're stepping into, that you're ready, you're prepared, you've grinded, and you're meant to be in that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. So I have to run because I'm doing the 10 o'clock show tonight on PHL. PHL pays us very well to put Action News on at 10. But my last parting gift to you, because you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to work with, and who they are going to be. I worked with Hoda Kotb at WWL, and look where she went. And she's still, to this day, I can call her, and she's just as thrilled to hear about what's going on. She screams a little when I tell her how old my son is now, because she was there when he was born. He just turned 29. But
Nice.
Yeah, so you never know, just the contacts, and you keep them for life if if you want them.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I just want to, my journey is very much like everyone else's here, but I do want to give a special shout out. Someone is actually here who was the beginning of my journey. His job still is, he's the broadcast king on there with Sir. He's like the #1 broadcast radio producer. And literally, that was my first official radio internship. And like, it started out with us setting up tables. I'm like, why are we setting up tables, But I just want to let everybody know that's just like what Renee was saying. If you have to set up lights, tables, shadow someone. I used to go to every internship with my little Android phone and record everything that everyone was doing, because if someone stepped out, you need to be able to step in and be present. And more importantly, build a relationship with those people. Let them know that you're responsible. And when you show up, you're going to show up, right? My job is not linear, by the way. When I meet people and I'm in these rooms, I'm most likely the person that didn't graduate from college, right? So I do not have a degree. Literally, the program director at Radio 1 Philly seen me on stage doing my thing, and I've been hosting for like 7 years now, and was like, what is it that you want to do? And I'm like, I want to get on TV. I want to be on broadcast media. I knew what I wanted as well. Know what you want while moving through the journey as well, and you'll manifest it. It will come to life just by you doing these little things. So always show up for yourself. Do internships like on there with Sir. He's actually accepting internships. I don't know if I'm allowed to put that out there, but it's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's an opportunity, and show up and be the best version of yourself. Network. I also believe that if I didn't network, I didn't graduate from college, y'all. I had a baby. I graduated from college. My network is what got me so far. I was able to live 3 years off of just my network, my resources, and getting booked for gigs because I showed up and I was a great person. Yeah.
I do think, too, the internship thing is important, because once you get into a station or whatever you're going to do, you get to see the different roles people play. And I've seen a lot of people have an internship because they think they want to be on air. Usually it's like they want to be an anchor, and then they start to see all of the different jobs that are behind the scenes, and they have no idea what goes on until you do that. And so you're going to be exposed to different things, and you might find out, maybe you think you want to be a writer, but then it turns out, you want to be on air, or vice versa. So, get as much experience as you can and exposure as you can, and it will help you kind of figure out what you want to do. And I think now, particularly a broad skill set is really important with the industry the way it is right now.
Any more questions from the audience, from young people?
Oh, there's...
Oh, sorry, it doesn't have to be answers.
We're all forever young.
Yes.
Turning 21 every year.
My name is Yaszmin, and I'm on the board with this organization. First of all, I'm blind, and I'm representing that disability population that sometimes get left behind. And one of the things that, and that's how Christine and I ended up together, is that I'm looking for internships for individuals with disabilities to have choices. Because a lot of times they don't get choices. We get placed in jobs, and there's a lot of things that are not there for us. And I was just listening to the things that you guys have done. And I worked at KYW for 2 years before I lost my sight. And I wanted to just see, especially with the things that you guys are doing, is to find out what's really open, because we are involved. I am a community outreach organizer in the community, so I'm one for showing up. And I believe in showing up and making, a friend of mine said, make your presence known. Because presence is key. So I just wanted to put it out there to keep us in mind. To bring in individuals with disabilities who don't get choices a lot of times. We're placed in different places, and I remember when I was trying to finish school, there wasn't a lot of help. Just kind of push you places, and you had to go deal with things, but I did finish school in my blindness and everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I would agree about the skill set. Like I said, when I first started, I wanted to get into sports broadcasting, and my first internship, I was dealing with politics and community events. It wasn't, too sexy, but I enjoyed it. And then I finally started working with a sports talk show host. I did that for a couple of years. And then the general manager said, well, look, so-and-so is leaving. You should take this position because it'll give you full time with benefits. I'm like, fine. So I started doing production. So I learned how to edit. And then that station closed. I went to another radio station now, where I am now, WURD Radio. And they wanted me to shadow the engineer to learn how to do live broadcasting out in the field. And I was training. I still had notes. And they called me up and said they fired him. I had to do the broadcast the next day by myself. And the rest, they say, is history. And I've been, freelancing as well. I've been doing some things. I'm actually currently also working with Temple University. I engineer their football and basketball broadcasts. So I get free trips to, they say, show up, get on the plane, go to Hawaii, Florida, Texas, wherever, and have fun. I bleed, cherry and white because I went to Temple as well. And it's painful. I love it when they win. I hate when we lose. But I'm part of the team, and I enjoy it. And it's just, again, keep expanding your skill set. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I learned that years ago. Ask questions.
I'm sorry. My last, and I'll be very quick. My last piece of advice is that your support system may not be what you think it is. Going into this, and that's a topic no one likes to really touch on. But you're on this journey, which is like a dream job. But you may not have support from your parents. I know neither one of my parents thought what I was doing was feasible. They wanted me to go to school for nursing, okay? So this is like not the costume they want me to wear, right, right now. However, your support system is usually like-minded individuals that you meet along your journey, right? Like I have all my supporters are here. They're from the journey that I've been on right now. So you may want your aunt to come to something or your uncle to come to something. They'll root for you. They might even give you a little change to get to where you gotta go. But look for support from within. Believe in yourself more than anyone else, and then you'll find the support along the way.
I'm actually really glad you went before me because it's a perfect segue to what I was going to say. And something that I was always taught by my parents growing up as an athlete was that you have to be 10 times better than everybody around you. And so I wanted to really take time to that's a great question that you're asking. I wanted to take time to really think through the best answer for it. I think that applies across the board to everyone. We might have a different starting point than others. We might have different advantages or disadvantages that we have to face. But regardless, in this world, you have to be 10 times better. You cannot do what everybody else does. I'm one that actively, I was just yesterday, I sent out like 15 emails to people just to introduce myself and share information. I didn't need to, I want to. You have to continue doing things to elevate yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. So build that village. I have people around me. I'm fortunate my family is supportive of my career as a sports family, but I have also friends that work in the industry that are in different networks and different roles that I can talk to and ask questions. Hey, what do you think about this outfit? What did you think about this comment? Just to get feedback and bounce ideas off of them from. So for anybody that's looking, regardless of which demographics you represent or challenges that you deal with, you have to be willing to put the work in and you have to be willing to understand you cannot go day to day and just get by. You have to want it in this industry because there are always people that are looking to also take and want the same jobs as you. And the higher you climb, especially in this field, the more narrow it gets. Mm-hmm. Think about your favorite sports shows. If you watch ESPN, NBC, CBS, ABC, whatever shows you watch in news and sports, think about how long those people have been sitting in those chairs. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of turnover at the top, and it's hard to get in, and it's even harder to stay in. So you have to constantly find ways to elevate yourself, you uplift those around you, and you have to find ways to stand out. What is that you bring? There's actually a blind play-by-play commentator, that's out of Rowan University. I don't know him personally. I just saw his story on social media that I stumbled across it. He's a Rowan University student. He's blind. He calls games, guys. He's calling games without actually seeing them based off what he hears and just an incredible skill set he has. Anything is possible in this world, but you have to be willing to go get it. And I personally don't want people to look at me as just a black woman whatever boxes I check. I want them to see me for my talent, my knowledge, the hard work I put in, see me out here. That's why I like to do things like this. See me in different rooms. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm in curling, in a sport I had no idea about, and I was the only black person in that room, and I actually was looking all week for other people of color. But I was there to represent, and now hopefully bring some others along. So maybe you are the first. Maybe you are the first blind commentator or analyst or, hard of hearing, whatever it may be, whatever boxes you check, but be that first, and you step into that room with pride, and you lift others along with you. Because we are making changes happen. There was a long time, and we joked about this panel would be all men and one woman. We have all women and one man. It is changing. It is becoming more diverse, but it's not easy because of the society that we're in right now is actually regressing, and we have to continue pushing the needle forward.
I think that's what, particularly being a woman, so like my first newsroom, I applied for the job and I didn't get it, and there were all men in the newsroom. It was really small, but still, like, all men. And I didn't know why, but I kept calling the news director. And eventually, like, another job opened up, and this one was for an anchor job. The first one was for, I think, like a reporting job. But so I went in, I interviewed again, and I ended up getting the job. And I found out that I didn't get the job the first time, because back then we had these huge heavy cameras with a separate tape deck, and they didn't think I could handle it. And so, which just astounded me, because of course I could handle it. And I did it in heels, darn it. But it was an experience because I was the only woman in that newsroom, and I actually had men scream at me. And, I'm like, if you want to talk about this professionally, we can come back to that, but you don't talk to me like that. And the business has evolved, but I agree, it's kind of going back, and particularly for women, I used to say, you have to work harder, longer, be smarter, and be better, just to be considered equal, and to be seen as equal in doing the job. And unfortunately, I hope this doesn't last forever, but I do think in the atmosphere that we're in right now, it's going to be difficult. But I will say, from what I've seen in the industry, I've worked in, a lot of newsrooms, and they've all been really diverse. And I think most people who work in this business understand how crucial it is to have a diverse newsroom. You need people with different life experiences, different perspectives, we all have biases, right? Different political perspectives, all of that. And because you need that input. And it teaches you critical thinking skills. If you're smart about it, if you can listen to what other people have to say, you don't have to agree, but sometimes when you have to defend your point of view, it actually it makes you better, right? Because you've really got to think about, okay, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this? But you also have to be willing to listen to the person across the table who disagrees with you. And all of that creates a really vibrant newsroom, and you just can't have a healthy newsroom without that diversity. So I don't think in news that is going to go away. I'm hopeful that it's not going to go away, because I think enough people in this business understand that at a very a basic level, that we need that.
And Carol, you touched on, as we're getting closer, we're getting ready to wrap up, but you touched on some really great points, because actually all of you did, but just in terms of we're talking about diversity of course with disabilities, and diversity with race and gender. For Career Discovery Network, that is embedded within our mission. For myself, that's been embedded within my career for close to 20 years in doing workforce development. So I'm really happy that we touched on that, and it's very important for us while we talk about all the great things in terms of broadcasting, but two, not talking about and just so just for our participants, because they are younger, we didn't want to share the negative side to be Debbie Downers, but just in terms of, I always like to talk about your differences in terms of leveraging your differences. And not looking at a challenge as an obstacle. A challenge and an obstacle are two different things, and it's how you approach them. So I'm really glad that we were able to get that inject this into the conversation.
Do you want to close with a question?
Oh, yes.
I was just asking.
Well, Ariel, before we close, I wanted to share for our students with the Belmont Charter, if you could really quick, can we squeeze it in? Just wanted to share the video and share just some of our visit that we had with Channel 6. I think that was 2 weeks ago that we had Channel 6 that I wanted to share before we close, and also, and then after that, if there's any questions as well. But I did want us to just see that, so you guys could see the students in their glory.
It's the things that you do, and it's the smile on your face, and as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place, I'm in a better place.
We've got a question.
Hi, so I actually forgot my question, but I'm going to try to remember it. So you said, I believe you mentioned something about when the woman gotta be the only person in the room where it's a bunch of full men. So how do you figure out I'm gonna say a solution? How do you stand on top of it, especially as an identity as a woman?
I will say, I've always found men who've had my back. And make those connections. Don't write everybody off just because you're the only woman. Don't only reach out to women. Make those some women will run you over to get to the next position. So, I've had that experience too. But there are men out there, there are good guys out there, and make your connection with them because they will support you. And then do not let your voice be drowned out. When you have something to say, you say it with conviction, and you don't let anybody put you down. And honestly, I'm at the point now, though. I mean, when I was younger, I probably would have handled it maybe a little differently, although I did let the guy who screamed at me have it. You do have to have a certain amount of kind of confidence and surety about yourself. And it goes back to kind of believing in yourself and believing in that what you bring to the table is valuable. And do not ever let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let anyone ever take that from you. You're going to face battles you are. I mean, today, there's sometimes I think men don't even understand sometimes what they're doing. And they're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to be nasty. They just don't think about it. So sometimes you do have to gently say, hey, I'm over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's led to problems. On the air, there have been some mistakes where they just haven't communicated with me, and you have to say something. Sometimes the way you say it, depending on who you're speaking to, and if, they'll be like, oh, okay, sorry. You got to know kind of the dynamic, but it still happens.
Can I quickly add? I know we're wrapping up. I'm so sorry. I see the signals. I know that signal. I will say it is 2025, and most times I am still the only woman. I am still the only person of color. I'm sometimes the only person that represents my age demographic. You might be the only one, but it's really important how you show up. So I would love to show up every day to work in sweats. I'd love to show up 15 minutes late. I'd love to show up and eat all the food. I'd love to show up and sit in a corner somewhere, but I don't do any of those things, okay? So I want to make sure you're not going to stereotype me and make these assumptions. I'm educated, I'm knowledgeable, I'm talented, I'm going to dress the part. I actually find myself typically the most overdressed in the room because I don't want you to even look at my outfit or attire and try to question it. So to me, it's you have that confidence, but you also you want to minimize giving them room to try to belittle you. don't give them a reason, is what my parents always told me. So I'm not gonna show up, listen, we have bad hair days, we have bad days in general. I'm gonna do my best to show up as my best. And that's not gonna be the same every day. Sometimes it looks different, but when you step into a room, you make sure, like you said, you step in and you show out. And you show them why you belong. And then you build the allies, male, female, older. I'm friends with everyone. I'm not fighting with people. I'm not gossiping. I'm not sitting somewhere trashed. No, I'm going to be the positive, just smiles and happy all the time. You're not going to see me otherwise, because I can't get caught up in the same things that others can do. So I think that's the difference. You learn I can't carry myself the same way. I have coworkers that show up in jeans and a t-shirt. I can't do that. And that's okay, because I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to now make sure I can change the narrative and bring others along with me. So you step into it, you uplift others, you be that source of positivity. Don't ever let them put you in a box as a stereotype, especially as a person of color. People will automatically assume you're uneducated, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't belong here, you're a DEI hire. No, you're not. You belong in that room. And you step into it every time with that grace. You stay awake, you stay alert, you pay attention, you ask questions, you ask, what can I do? You speak articulate and educated, and you show why you belong, because there are people that fought for us, generations and generations that fought for us to be in these rooms. And you own that with the knowledge and confidence that you deserve.
I know that's right.
Thank you so much.
Or do you want?
Do we? Oh, okay.
I feel like you have to.
Well, everyone, just so you know, you can still ask your questions, because we're going to network. This event was not just designed to give you an overview of the broadcasting industry, but also to give all of you an opportunity to interact directly with individuals who are at the top of their game, in this industry, so that you can make those connections. And so, as we close, I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank our students for showing up. They had other things that they could do today. But I thank you for spending time with us. Renee, Yaszmin, Carol, Troy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.